This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia.
Welcome to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm Blake Watson, your host, and I am a licensed realtor brokered by Epique Realty. Today, as my guests on the show, I have Ashley Williams and Jamie Mooney, both from Cornerstone Title. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Blake. Thank you.
Jamie,
Thank you, Blake.
Jamie's on phone. Ashley happens to be sitting right here in the studio. Thank you both for coming and being a part of the program. Cornerstone Title is a title insurance company, and I know you do closings. Tell us, what does Cornerstone Title do in the real estate business?
So what we do is we walk beside each real estate agent, each homeowner, each seller that's involved in the transaction of a purchase and sale, or even refinances. We walk alongside them and do some research on the property that they're buying to make sure their title to the property is giving them 100% ownership and that there are no defects or problems with the ownership that they have been given.
Now, Jamie, when you say no defects and making sure that someone really owns the property, what does that mean? I mean, we all, when we buy a house, we go and we sign the papers and, hey, we own it. We've got title to it. But what are some of the reasons that it's a bigger deal than maybe meets the eye?
Yes. What happens is when we get a contract or a refinance order or someone selling their property, we will do a 30-year plus search on the ownership of that property and how it transferred from owner to owner previously. And there are lots of things, kind of small and even larger things, that can be hidden back there, where some of those things include forgery. You've got some things where there's fraudulent execution of documents.
Wow.
You've got undisclosed or missing heirs or beneficiaries that had a right to the property that maybe didn't sign off for their ownership interest in the property when the property was transferred. You've got a lot of different things. There could be unsatisfied claims as far as if prior owners had loans or liens of any kind that attached to the property during their ownership period that were not released or weren't even fully satisfied or paid in full. Those are still lingering out there, can be. You've got judgments that can be attached to owners, and therefore it attaches to the property that they own as well. That can be a what we call a defect or a cloud on title, it causes a problem for the next owner that eventually has to be taken care of so that clear ownership and the title is clear from any of those encumbrances and defects that we are referencing.
Wow. Well,
there's a lot to it.
There's a lot to it. A lot of things that could go wrong, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So when you do what it sounds like, that is a thorough title search. You're making sure that transfer of the property can be done properly and that you've got everybody involved that is needed. And I know you issue title insurance. Tell us about what does that do and what does it do for us?
When we issue or we get ready to issue our policy of title insurance, what that represents is that we have done that thorough search on the property and we have worked to clear off, if any. Sometimes there's no issues and no defects that we have to go and clear off, and because the prior title companies that have had any kind of dealings with the property have done what they should have done in those previous transfers of ownership. So sometimes we don't have to do that, but other times we do. And once we've done all of that and we've prepared the paperwork and cleared everything, we can then stand behind our search and our work and issue this owner's title policy. The policy is good up to the purchase amount of the of the home. So if you purchased a home for $100,000, then that's the amount of title insurance that you would obtain. And that title insurance policy is just there if any of these things that we've talked about and others, there are more reasons why you would need title insurance as far as other instances where there might be defects or causes problems. But that policy is then put in place once we've cleared all that, and we can stand behind it and say, yes, we're going to issue this policy. If anything comes up in regards to these items or your ownership, then you contact us, and we will get our attorneys involved and our claims department, and we will go fight for you on your behalf.
It sounds like even if there's a transfer among, say, heirs or family, if I were to decide, hey, I'm going to give my son or daughter a house or just a piece of land, or do a new survey and separate out some land, would title insurance still be important?
Title insurance is important. One thing to know about title insurance is that it stays with the current owner or their heirs for as long as they, have an interest in the property. So it's only issuable if you are selling or purchasing. So there actually has to be money exchanged. Otherwise, there's not really insurance that can be given for that. But yes, it is important for you to know if you have an owner's title policy, so that if you do transfer property in between heirs or family or anything like that, it's good to know that that travels with that land so long as they are connected to you or connected to your family.
Jamie, do you have any horror stories, for lack of a better word, but a situation that you've ended up being brought into because someone did not do the proper things and you've been left to try and help them work it out?
We do have many times, and I'm working on a few transactions right now, where there has been death in the chain of title. For whatever reason, the individuals that were trying to do what they needed to do to transfer the property from the legal heirs or the trust agreement. I've got two situations, one dealing with heirs where death has occurred, and the other where death has occurred, but there was a trust agreement and the property was in a trust. So those types of instances can be a nightmare for those who are trying to sell it, because if it's not done properly or wasn't done properly in the past, then we have to start digging into those other conveyance documents or the times that it was conveyed, so we can clear up and get whoever needs to sign the property. So I recently had one where we're working on that trust. Once you put property into a trust, you have to take it out of the trust as well. And so that was a missing link in this transfer of property, and no one had officially taken it out of the trust when they needed to. So we have had to prepare documents to be signed by the appropriate parties that should have done that in the beginning. And that's taken some extra time, which has prolonged the closing because we have to go to those individuals and they have to, sign off on those documents. And thankfully, those individuals were still alive, because if they weren't, that produces even further problems. So, yeah, we have situations like that all the time where people just they get so upset because they thought they had 100% ownership and had done everything they were supposed to do, but they didn't. And in most of those cases, it's from a seller side where we have to work to make sure that the new buyer will be able to purchase title insurance and have that clear ownership.
Yeah, I was just thinking about some instances where I've dealt with those sorts of things with clients. And just last week, we had a closing where the legal description was just a little bit off. There were just some words that were not right. But before they could issue new title policy and actually transfer the ownership, that had to be fixed. And they had to go back to the other attorney and work it out.
Yeah, we just had that same incident. It's funny that you mentioned that, because we just had that happen this past week, and we have another title company that is supposed to be getting the documentation to correct the legal description. It was missing the word east in it. And I mean, that may not seem like a big deal to some, but it can be a very big deal when you are trying to build or, survey off property. It can mean a whole lot. Yeah, we've had that instance just recently too.
Yeah. It's all okay until it's not okay, right?
Right.
Until it's not. Right, which is scary.
Yeah, and then it
Most
can
of the time
be.
it's a hurry up and fix this kind of thing, and some things you just can't hurry up and fix.
Let's talk about the closing process itself. People, their experience usually with a title company is just briefly, they come in for a closing. Everything's been worked out prior. I guess the title company's had interaction with them to make sure all the documents are right. But then what is their normal interaction with you if someone's buying a house?
I guess I'm our Chattanooga closer, so I've been doing this. I guess I started early March, and so one of the things we've worked on is making sure that our phrase is Cornerstone, where the closing table feels like home. And so I like that phrasing because it's not just about the client that's buying or selling. It's also about our clients who are the realtors as well. And so we try to build relationships with the people who come to the table. We try not to just reach out and say, hey, we need death certificates. We try to take care of who we're talking to. And we've been really building our team and making sure that you feel a seamless process and that you can tell each member of our team is here to take care of you. And basically, as far as, what happens at the table is the best part. It's my favorite part. Jamie makes it to where I get to do my favorite part.
In order to close, we've got to first make sure that everything from our side, involving title, anything that we've got to clear up has been done. So we have to make sure all of that is done. But we also have to be in communication with the lender if they're involved. For a cash sale, we would be communicating with the new owner or the new buyer and the seller. So communication is really key in all of this. We've got to be communicating, and that's what we try to do at Cornerstone from beginning when we first get your contract to reaching out via email, but also following up with phone calls because, let's be honest, not everybody reads their emails like they're supposed to, and some people get thousands of them and so just get overlooked. But we try to give that personal touch. That way they know who they're going to be dealing with the whole process, but also they're expecting us to give them instructions on closing. So we've got to make sure that they understand whether or not they need to send a wire for the funds that are needed for closing, whether or not they need a cashier's check, who that's made payable to. There are, types of identification that we require for closing, which is typically your driver's license, but for some people it would be different. We have to make sure that all of that stuff is lined up because it's not fun when people walk in the door and they have no idea what's about to happen. So Ashley's really good at communicating with her clients and her agents and loan officers as to what's expected and needed for closing. And like she said, we're constantly looking at it and developing new ways to make it a better process and looking for better ways to communicate with our clients so that they don't walk into closing with a huge question mark above their head, like what's going on.
Yeah, and I definitely understand the importance of communication throughout. I have worked with a number of title companies, and some are very good at communicating and some are not as good, and I appreciate that. Now, Ashley, where is Cornerstone located here in Chattanooga?
Sure. So we're off Lee Highway. I tell folks we're adjacent to the Tennessee Children's Home, and if you're familiar with the car barn off of Heritage Business Court, our office door is directly across from the car barn. So Heritage Business Court there. It's a great location for closings. We also have the ability, when necessary, that we can go on site and meet and do remote closings when necessary. So we just make things happen. Whatever the client needs is what we work on.
I had a seller once that was in jail, and the attorney had to go to the jail to get a signature. So I don't know if you guys do that, but that may happen. Yeah.
We have done a few things like that, but, hospitals,
nursing homes,
those types of just whatever it takes. We're willing to work with anybody and anything to try to get it done.
It's good to know that, though, because some people think that maybe if they cannot physically come into the office, then, they can't do the transaction. But
right.
You're saying you're going to work with them. And I happen to well, I'm going to be on vacation all that week, whatever it may be,
Yeah, so we try to ask up front in the beginning if anybody anticipates that they won't be able to physically attend the closing in person at our office. And from there, there's a lot of just front end details that help us make sure that we hit the mark when it's time to hit the mark. And so I really liked Cornerstone. When I was looking at options for title companies I wanted to get involved with in our area. And I liked it because Jamie's experience level, I didn't throw anything at her that she didn't have an answer for. And so I've got confidence that if somebody did need a last minute scenario, that she would help us figure out what to do.
Now, Ashley, you are newer to working at this company, but you have been in the real estate business for many years, and then I met you in the media business at News Channel 9. Just tell us why you decided to stop being a realtor and go into title.
So I'd been trying to transition out of real estate for a couple of years now, and I had not felt like I'd found the right fit. I really missed the real estate aspect of what I was doing, and I love marketing and advertising and brands, but I missed the real estate portion of it. And what I did not find anymore for myself was the ability to really be a mom and raise my kids and keep the hustle going the way I had in the years prior to having a younger child. And so I was looking, to be honest. And when I first interviewed with Jamie, I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted it. I was like, give me a weekend to be sure, because it was important. It was going to be a very big move and potentially retire my license. And so I took the weekend and thought about it and came up with a bunch of questions. And I'm pretty sure they would agree that I interviewed them back the second time in person as much as they interviewed me. And so I just came, like I said, 11 years in the industry in one way or another, had done mortgage before as well. And so I asked certain questions and none of their answers sent me away. And I prayed about it. And the more I thought it out, I just decided this was the right move. So I retired the license. It was a big deal the week I did that. I got a little emotional, but I would say it was exactly what I was supposed to do. Closings are what I enjoy the most. I really love the people. I love the relationships, but I love being able to close, and I love being able to help prepare files on the front end. And now that I've retired my license, I don't know. I when it turns around and the market's all booming, I just want all the realtors to bring their deals to us. So, it's just a totally different seat at the table. Mostly it's just a personal decision to have a better family life for myself.
Yeah. I mean, the title experience, I would think that particularly the closing experience, I mean, you're with people at a very important moment in their life. And whether they are buying or selling their house or property, whatever the case may be, they come with some anticipation and leave hopefully with big smiles on their faces.
Yeah. Well, and I felt like I had like this was the missing link. Like if a friend or a family member called and past client called and had questions about something, the title part was the portion that I didn't have the answers completely to yet. And so the longer I've been here with Cornerstone and the more I've become acquainted with this side of the table, the more it's filling in all those missing pieces. It's kind of unlocking some things for me that are making me think of how I can help my own sphere even more, who to connect them with and how to, I hate to say I've drank the title Kool-Aid because I basically tell everybody that talks to me about real estate, I'm like, you really need to talk to Jamie, and then other times Jamie would be like, well, they need an attorney. So sometimes it's just trying to find out who should a consumer talk to first.
Yeah.
I love being able to help do that.
A consumer is not required to use a specific title company. That is something that's negotiated between the buyer and seller, and your realtor is not in charge of what title company you go to. They can certainly advise you as to which ones they would suggest. Tell me, when someone is deciding about a title company, why would they come to Cornerstone Title instead of another title company? What would make you different?
I would suggest that the reason they need to come work with Cornerstone is just because of the personal touch that you receive. Like you said, there are title companies out there that are really good at communicating, and there's others that are not. I can safely say with much confidence that Cornerstone Title is very good at communicating with all parties, and that is intricate in these types of transactions where for long periods of time you can just be sitting there with nothing going on. So if you want to pick up the phone, you need to be and call your title company and say, hey, how is closing day looking? You should be able to do that and get an answer. I think that is one of the main reasons that people would like working with Cornerstone.
And I'd add to it as well, aside from just client relationships and helping assist with files on the front end and then closing, I can't undo the fact that my brain was a realtor brain for so long. And so, in fact, we're trying sometimes to get me to stop thinking in that lane. But on the flip side of that is it's kind of a good thing, because I feel that I offer an experience to our partners, realtor partners, and to lenders that do home equity lines with us or refinancing, and even just consumers in general that don't have any attachments to anyone. I feel like I have the experience and the background from real estate to kind of hear before it happens some things that might be needed or might need to be considered, or some concerns that sometimes people won't say that they're worried or scared or nervous or anxious, but you can hear it in their tone and the way that they're behaving. And so, not that I'm some sort of like consumer whisperer at the title company, but because
that's a good one.
That is good.
But because I'm not like in the file with the process the way that my title team is, I can afford consumers and partners a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more conversation, a little bit longer on the phone if I need to, or a little extra care that I don't think that they will receive at just every competitor's title company out there. So we are communicating, we are going the extra mile for the actual title work itself. And then in addition to that, you have a Cornerstone local rep who is here, literally just here for you. So if I can't answer, my team can, and we do things quickly together. So I think we kind of have a bit of an edge on the market because they've made this position available.
Very good.
I would agree 100%.
How can someone get in touch with you?
Well, our office line is 423-922-8222 in Chattanooga.
Is there a website?
CornerstoneTitleTN.com.
Jamie Mooney and Ashley Williams, both with Cornerstone Title. I thank you for coming and being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I'm Blake Watson, agent with Epique Realty. My mobile phone is 423-315-1815, and my brokerage office phone is 888-893-3537. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Blake Watson, and on Instagram as Rock and Roll Blake. My website is athomechattanooga.com. And if this podcast has been helpful, please share this podcast with a friend and follow this podcast so you won't miss an episode. And until next time, I wish you all the best in your real estate journey.